Alright guys, in this video I want to talk about the truth about ketogenic diets and really what they're not telling you about them. Now, crazy enough, I've had so many people ask me what are my thoughts on ketogenic diets. I've had people tell me they want to try and do a ketogenic diet, what do I recommend? And there's really no better time to talk about this than right now. Now, first order of business, what is a ketogenic diet? Well, it's a very, very low carbohydrate diet. Invariably, you're keeping your carbs usually under 50 grams per day. That is incredibly low. To put that into perspective, an apple has like 20 grams of carbs. And when you're just eating, veggies and stuff, you're getting in carbs there, so you really have no room to eat any carbs. And the goal is to put your body into ketosis, where it creates an energy byproduct to fuel your brain and so on and so forth, because your brain requires, 100 plus grams of carbs per day. So you have to go through this ketosis process in which your body becomes fat adapted. And the idea is that in doing so, in doing that, you essentially are able to burn fat really easily. There's a metabolic advantage, so you're going to get lean really easily. Your appetite is diminished, and getting lean, and then your body can and a lot of these people that talk about ketogenic diets, they speak to gaining muscle on it and all these crazy benefits. But I want to speak more so to what the research says. And of course, what the research says is that getting lean is the result of a calorie deficit. So when you look at ketogenic diets compared to other diets, the only times the ketogenic diets work is when they're lower in calories. When they match the calorie intake, there's actually zero metabolic advantage for the ketogenic diet. In fact, a lot of the research shows that there's actually adverse, negative metabolic effects of doing ketogenic diets. That there's actually a big negative effect on mood and well-being, on energy, on vigor. And one of the also things you have to look at with a lot of studies is when they match for protein intake, because a lot of times they'll compare low carb. When they show low carb diets outperforming non-low carb diets, what really is going on is the low carb diet has more protein. As we know, protein's very important for staying full, for building muscle, and really improving your fitness. So when they match for protein, there's really no advantage of low carb or ketogenic diets. I mean, one study was a 6-week trial where they had people go on a ketogenic diet, and they actually saw decreases in power, in VO2 max, just the list went on. So the reality is, as far as the research is concerned, ketogenic diets, there's really no reason to go on them if your goal is to get lean or to build muscle. Now, I will say that one of the advantages for maybe the general population of doing a ketogenic diet is it's a lot easier to control for calories if you just say, okay, I'm just not gonna eat carbs, and you cut out a huge food group, and now you're forced to eat meats and vegetables. That can help you just keep your calories low automatically, but it takes a ton of discipline. I wouldn't really want to do that. I wouldn't really want to never have carbs again. And going a little further here, there's actually negative effects of going very low carb. For example, testosterone will go down on a very, very low carb diet. The research again is clear on that, and that's my experience. When I used to do very low carb diets under 100 grams per day, my sex drive went down. My training performance went down in the sense that when I was at the gym, I'd hit this wall and I just couldn't push through it. Like when I train now, I can push through reps, I can make some gains, but on the low carb diet, at a certain point in the workout, I just hit this wall and I just was dead. Some of these low carb diets have actually shown that you actually get really bad breath. Not that good. Because you're not eating carbs, your mood gets suppressed and you feel sad. And you can't sleep because of the lack of serotonin being released. And that was, again, my experience with low carb diets. So really the only reason you'd want to experiment with a very low carb diet is because, for whatever reason, it helps you keep your calories lower. If you're struggling to stick to your calorie intake because you're having carbs and that's just making you want to eat more, keeping you hungry, then maybe you should do a very low carb diet. But there's ways to circumvent that easily. For example, intermittent fasting, like I teach. When you fast, it's so easy to stay in a deficit. It is so easy. You fast the first 4 to 6 hours of the day, sparkling water, some black coffee, and you can eat a couple big meals, and getting lean is so damn enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. As well, eating foods that are filling, Potatoes have one of the highest indexes in satiety and fullness. Eating lots of protein will keep you full. So you don't have to gravitate to a low carb diet. And again, what's most important to remember is the deficit, the fat loss comes from the calorie deficit. If you're 180 pounds and you burn 2,600 calories per day, you could go on a low carb diet and eat 3,000 calories a day and you will gain weight, you'll gain fat. You know, but if you stay at 2,200 with lots of carbs, you'll lose fat. It's really that simple. And people always want to complicate things. You see, the industry always changes, it goes through cycles. You know, last year, the vegan diet was the biggest thing. Everyone was talking about the vegan diet, vegan diet, vegan diet, you know, and I know there's people have other reasons for wanting to do the vegan diet, you know, for animals, for environment, but in the fitness industry, the vegan diet was getting heavily pushed. And now this year, of course, it always comes back full circle. Now it's ketogenic diet. But I like to focus on what actually gets results, not on the fads. And a lot of people like to jump behind the fads because it's cool, it's trendy, but I'm going to speak to what actually works. And what I say time and time again is, you got to count your calories. Or you don't have to count them, but you have to have an idea of what you're hitting. Or in that sense, the calories always matter, you know. Even if you don't know what you're hitting, the calories always matter, so you better align your food choices in a way that supports that. Intermittent fasting is incredibly powerful for making getting lean easier, and it's got its own strong benefits, especially health benefits. And you got to get sufficient protein, right? And I never demonize any macronutrient. I don't say carbs are bad, I don't say fat are bad. When I feel my best, and what the research tends to support, is that you kind of need both. Fat's very important for supporting testosterone. It's important for your health, you need it. Carbs are also important for training performance, for restocking muscle glycogen. Protein is important for rebuilding muscle tissue. The danger isn't in any one macronutrient, it's in too much of something. Too many carbs is not good. Too much fat is not good. Too much protein is not good. It comes down to balance, but when you're eating within your calories, it's hard to eat too much of something, you know, because you're within your calories. Too much usually comes from eating too many calories in general. So if you want to try a ketogenic diet, go do it your thing, get your own experience on it, but the reality is there's no metabolic advantage. It's not going to help you lose fat faster if you're in the same calorie deficit and getting the same amount of protein. It's not going to boost your muscle building, it's not going to boost your strength performance. If anything, it's going to be kind of miserable to stick to, and it might have adverse effects. It might increase inflammation, as one study I looked at shows. It might reduce your energy, your mood. But you know what? This is your decision to make, and some people might go on it and they might like it. You know, for some reason it might jive with their body. But for me, I've never found that to be the case. I find balance the most effective, and I find that intermittent fasting is such an enjoyable lifestyle. I've been doing this for 6 years. Who's actually stuck to a ketogenic diet for 6 years without screwing up along the way? I don't know. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you did. If you want to start one of my programs, they're all based on intermittent fasting, using intermittent fasting, hitting the right calories, the right protein, optimizing your training with your diet. And that's another thing, is that if you're training a lot, low-carb diets eventually hit this wall, like I said earlier, and you'll get stuck. So that's all I want to talk to. If you want to join one of my programs, I'll put a link over here. All the research studies I looked at, I'll put them in the description. And I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.